Hey, this is Driver. So we are back on ATS, and we're still in Grangerville. I found us a semi-short load, 300, almost 400-mile run, going out to Wenatchee, Wisconsin, Washington, not Wisconsin. We don't have that state yet. We got a forwarder here, as you can see. Uh, so it is an oversized load. I will not be running the oversized lights because if you remember, I have these on here, and they light up the whole freaking cab, and I have not dealt with those yet. I keep forgetting to do that, so I apologize. So we're just gonna run this. It will be a nighttime run. I do apologize. So we're gonna go ahead and get rolling here. I haven't really thought of a topic to talk about yet tonight for this run, so it might be kind of a quiet ride. We'll just kind of see if something pops up in the brain. Um, Maybe I can come up with a story of some places I've been to out here. Actually, I could think of one already. So I might actually have something for you. So let's start by getting out of this parking lot. Well, let's start by turning my mirrors and stuff on first, right? There we go. Let's see about getting out of this parking lot, and then we'll go with that. So this is oversized, but it's nothing crazy. It's not real wide. It's just barely over width. It's probably a little on the heavier side. I didn't look at how heavy this was. Oh, it's only 44,000 pounds. That's a walk in the park. Let's see here. Watch your mirrors, not run over all the employees' cars in the parking lot. So, and if you're kind of curious, real quick before we pull out of this parking lot here, I'm going to pop outside for just a hot minute. So this style of trailer right here, let me get rid of the HUD. Oh, go away. So the HUD. So this kind of trailer here, you see how it's pretty low to the ground. In the states, we for short we call this an RGN. It's a removable gooseneck. So if you've ever played Farm Sim, there's a couple of trailers that's similar to this that you can get. Um, and basically, you detach the neck from the body there and pull the truck forward, and then you would unload that equipment. So if you've ever wondered that, there's a bit of piece of information there for you. Let's see here. Anybody coming? Nobody see that direction that well. Good that way. All right. So yeah, I don't have a whole lot of stories or anything like that out in the West Coast, like I've said before. Idaho, I've only been to a couple of times. Um, the very first time I went to Idaho, I didn't have my CDL, but maybe 6 months, maybe 6 months. I had to go out to the way out into the sticks. It was out in the mountains. It was a beautiful country. Oh my God, was it beautiful? Um, and I don't even remember what I picked up out there. They were in the big, huge sacks. So if you play Farm Sim, the big bags that you pick up with a lift, it was like that. And it was some kind of a mineral. I don't remember exactly the kind of mineral it was though. And or no, that's just the sign. Um, so I was pulling a what they call a dry van, which is just a box trailer, and they had me go out there and pick up. But I wasn't going to be able to make it out there before they closed. But they told me of a place I could park at. So I was like, okay, And they said it was behind a gas station, but they had all the everything set up with them. They said just to go in, let them know, who I was, told to come and park there, and all that good stuff. So I'm like, all right, no big deal. So I cruised over there, and this is in the middle of nowhere. So mind you, this is in 2004 at this point. Um, and it wasn't snowing yet, but was it cold? I mean, it was in the 40s during the day. It was chilly at night, but it was just beautiful mountainside out there. And there wasn't much in this town. I mean, there was that gas station. There was a little bitty grocery store down the road. I don't really remember a whole lot in that town, but I do remember there being a Ford dealership across the road. And I've always enjoyed driving and owning Fords, and I was a really big Ford fanatic back then. Now I'm a little bit on the Dodge side, but not a whole lot, just the motor. But so anyhow, I had time to kill. I got there around 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Sun wasn't going down to about 6 or so. And what caught my eye was they had a pickup over at that Ford dealership, and they're called a Ford Lightning, and they're a pickup truck that's got basically what they call the SVT package. So it's got a souped-up V8 in it, and it's a little bit of a sporty kind of a race truck, but it's a pickup. And I never really looked at them up too close. I had friends that were real big into them, so with plenty of time to kill after talking to the people in the convenience store, I walked over there and was just looking at it, and just kind of seeing what they had in the parking lot. And I had a sales guy come out, and he was like, "Oh, I see you're interested in this truck." I said, "Well, I just like it." I said, "But I ain't buying them." At the time I lived in Texas. I told myself I'm not from here, and I'm not buying a vehicle. I said, "I'm just gonna flat out tell you right now." I said, "I'm not buying a vehicle." I said, "So if you want to go inside and find somebody else to sell a car to, that's cool, man." I said, "I'm just looking at this thing." I said, "I've never really looked at them that close." So the guy was like, "Okay," and he's like, "Well, I'll leave you be then," and so he went back inside, and I'm thinking, "Okay, that's the last I've heard of this guy. Cool." So I'm just standing there and kind of looking at the truck and everything, and then I was also just kind of standing there. I had another view of the mountains and stuff. So I'm looking at the mountains and everything, and next thing you know, the guy comes back out, and I said, and he was holding a set of keys, and I said, "Dude," I said, "I told you I'm not buying a truck. It ain't happening. I don't have a way to buy it, and all that." And he's like, "No, no, no." He goes, "I know you're not buying it." He goes, "But we're real slow today." He goes, "I figured you wanted to take it for a drive." I said, "Man, I'm not buying it. Why would I want to take it for a drive?" He goes, "Oh, come on. You want to take it for a drive." So he kept on about it. I'm like, "All right, fine. If you want to go for a drive, let's go for a drive." And so he throws the keys at me, and, we go and we take off, and, we go up, we started going up kind of through the mountains a little bit and everything. And I'm driving, so I'm just taking my time. I'm not in no huge hurry or anything like that. And I just kind of cruising along, and he's like, "What do you think, man?" I said, "Well, it seems to be pretty peppy, and I haven't even tried to hot rod it or anything. I'm just cruising, And then he's like, "Oh," he goes, "Well," he goes, "pull over up here, and he goes, and I'll drive back." I'm like, "All right, sounds cool." So I pull off in this like little dirt parking lot, and we switch seats, and he goes to drive back, and he drove that thing like a maniac. That truck flew. I couldn't believe how fast that truck was for a little pickup. But I remember doing that, and then by the time we got back and everything, it was kind of starting to get dusk, So I went ahead and told him that I was going back to my truck, and I went over back to the gas station, and they didn't have a whole lot to eat in there, but I managed to find, I think, a pizza or something like that, and got me something to eat, and went back to my truck, and I went to bed. And the next morning, I got up at like 6 a.m. and went over to the place I was picking up, and man, was that more beautiful countryside. And I do have pictures of that. I'll have to see if I can find those, and I may throw those up in my Discord or some, or in a video here soon. I might throw a couple screenshots of it up or something. But yeah, that was a lot of fun. Real pretty area out there. And that load that I picked up, I took that, I believe, back to Dallas, or probably either back to Texas, the Dallas area of Texas, or I might have took it up to Oklahoma and then came home. Because at the time I lived near the Dallas Fort Worth area. So, and then I can't really recall ever going back to Idaho after that. But like I said, a lot of the companies I worked for, I never really went out west. Did a lot more East Coast. So when I got into RV hauling, I did a lot more West Coast. And I know I went to Idaho several times. I used to run out west a fair amount, and sometimes I would go to Idaho and deliver. And the company I worked for had an office and a yard over in Portland, Oregon, and I would go over there, and it wasn't Portland. It was in Oregon, but it wasn't in Portland, I don't think. But anyhow, I'd go over there, and sometimes I'd get a load out of them going back. It wouldn't go the whole distance, but it would at least pay for some of my fuel heading back. So, um, and one time I was told by somebody, and this is where you learn not to believe everything you hear. But I was told by a person that I could just pull into the weigh station and buy my permit. And if you remember me talking about hot shot before, that there were certain states that would not recognize your truck tag or your trailer tag, and you had to buy a permit to drive that state. Idaho was one of those states. And hold on one sec. Sorry, my throat was getting a little scratchy. But anyhow, um, I was told that I could just go in that scale, walk inside, and I can buy the permit there on the spot. And it was like $10 or $15. And sorry, I'm paying attention to these people. So I pull in there, and I pull in, I pull up on the scale, and they asked me over the intercom where was my permit, and I told them I needed to buy it, and they told me to park the truck. So I parked the truck and I went inside thinking everything was all good to go. I go inside, and the person, the scale officer, which was a female, she told me, she goes, "You were supposed to have your permit before you pull in here." I said, "Oh," I said, "I was told that I could buy it here." She goes, "No, you cannot buy it here." And I'm like, "Oh, well, I'm very sorry." I said, "I did not know that." She goes, "Well," she goes, "I'm going to believe you that you're being truthful with me, and I'm going to go ahead and sell you a permit. The permit's $15." She goes, "But it's normally 10 if you buy it online." I'm like, "Oh, well, if I'd have known that, yeah, I would have bought it online." She goes, "And the next time you come in here thinking you're going to buy a permit from me," she goes, "you're going to receive a ticket." I'm like, "Ooh, that ain't good." So, and she never told me how much the ticket was, and I didn't want to know. So, um, the good thing was that the company I worked for, they would reimburse us for our permits and stuff. So buying the permit was not a problem. It wasn't like I was trying to, skim the companies out or anything like that. I mean, I get my money back. It's not that big a deal. So, yeah, there was that happened. And then after that, I bought my permit every time. Matter of fact, she was in there one or two of the times that I went through, and I already had my permit, and she joked with me about it. She goes, "Oh, you learned your lesson." I said, "Oh, I guess you could say I learned my lesson." I said, "It's what I get for listening to people." So, but see, it's confusing when you're doing that kind of work because in certain states, I could just pull in the scale and buy the permit, and I know that Arizona's one, and maybe New Mexico. It's been so long since I ran out there, I don't really remember. But in Arizona, you pull in, and as you come across the scale, they write down the name of your company off the side of your truck. They just write it down, and they tell you to park. And then you come inside with your paperwork, your permit book, and everything, and your information on the load that you're hauling, which is a trailer. And when you go inside, they say, "Okay, you need to buy your permit." And I was like, "Yep, how much is it?" And they tell you the amount. And um, I can't remember if they let you pay with a card there. I know New Mexico would, but I don't remember if Arizona. Some of them you only could only pay cash. But oh my God, come on, dude. I may pass this truck, guys. So yeah, it just varied from state to state, depending upon where you're at, what you're doing, how their rules worked. And I know I'm tailgating this guy, but we're doing like 30 under the speed limit now. And now he's going to speed up, of course. So yeah, sorry guys, I'm trying to think of anything else that's kind of happened out there. So we're heading to Washington State. Um, so Washington State, I've been to Seattle a few times. when I was working for that one company, um, like I said, I would go as far west as I could get, as close to Idaho as I could get, or I mean Oregon, usually into Idaho or wherever, and then I'd cruise over to the yard in Oregon, and I would go there and offer to help. And a lot of times, what they were doing, they'd have me run a trailer to Seattle or one over to Portland or sometimes out to Montana or something like that, just to kind of help out. And so a lot of times I'd go over and they would give me one or two Seattles and they would give me a Montana and say that was all they could give me. And then from Montana, I'd cruise back. So it'd knock a day off my drive and put a little bit of money in my pocket. Um, One time I was in there and I got a load going to Wyoming, which was kind of nice because that put me more than a day ahead of schedule, or a day further down the road, I mean. Let's see here. We gotta turn right. Let's see. So yeah, I would do stuff like that. Um, I usually avoided California like the plague. Um, the only two times that I went out to California, I got tickets both times, so it's just felt like a bad luck state to me. So I don't go back out there very often. Um, yeah, I'm trying to think of some other stuff. This might be kind of a quiet ride from here out, unless I think of something here. Looking over my notes here as I'm stopped at this light. I'm not seeing anything else I've missed that people have asked about or commented on or anything. Let's see. I'm trying to think of some of the loads that I've hauled maybe to add to today. Like I said, for many years I pulled a dry van, so I hauled pretty much dry goods. I hauled everything from ramen noodles to household goods, foods, like stuff like cereals, box foods, canned goods. I never pulled refrigerated foods, so I never had to deal with that. Um, Even though I considered doing it a few times, it's not bad work. It's a little bit more to it. Guaranteed you're going to grocery stores or grocery outlets or something like that. So those places you can get hung up there for hours. So I've hauled stuff like laundry detergent. I've hauled bath soap, and oh my god, I've hauled all kind of crazy stuff. Come on, I love the AI in here. Yeah, I think it was around 2009 that I got into hauling more than just dry goods and stuff. Um, I know right before I got out of, or right about the time that I got out of, cruise reset here. Come on, there it goes. Something I used to haul that I thought was kind of interesting was I used to haul these big rolls of paper. Something you could probably Google. The ones I hauled it for was for Georgia Pacific and International Papers, which is, here in the U.S. obviously. And they were huge rolls. I mean, these rolls were probably, I don't know, 6, 8 foot tall, at least probably 7 or 8 foot tall. And they were so big around I couldn't hug one. They were huge. Um, they was only able to put anywhere from usually about 4 to 5 of them in a trailer. Was all they could put in there due to weight. And the thing I enjoyed about that was I knew I never had to mess with the load because it always had to be unloaded with a forklift. Forklift was the only thing that could do it. And in 2009, well, in 2008, I had a surgery, and the company I was working for kind of irritated me, to put it nicely. So I was working for that company and found out that I had a hernia. And so I set up and had surgery for it. While I was laid up recovering from the surgery, the company let me go because I didn't come to work, even though I was recovering from surgery. And I called them about it, and they told me, like, oh, well, yeah, we let you go because you haven't been to work. I said, you do realize I'm on medical leave? And they're like, oh, yeah, we see that in your notes. In the notes here, that you're on medical leave. I'm like, so you fired me anyways, even though I'm on medical leave? And they're like, well, yeah, you're not showing up to work. I'm like, what part of medical leave do you not get? I mean, I can't, the doctor won't let me come to work. So, what do you want me to do? And they're like, oh, well, don't worry about it. You're rehireable. So more or less, they did fire me because I supposedly didn't show up to work, even though I was recovering from surgery. But yet I was rehireable to come back and go through orientation all over again. And I'm like, well, if they're going to do that to me once, they're going to do it to me again. So there's no point in ever going back to them. So I got a job working for a guy, hauling all kind of different stuff. We did what we called power only. So it's similar to what we're doing here with ATS here. I'm providing the truck. They have the trailer. You want it moved, I can move it for you. Simple as that. When I did that for the guy that I started working for in 2009, I started hauling all kind of stuff, interesting stuff. Sometimes I was hauling brand new trailers to the customers. There was one trucking company, and like I said, I'm not going to name these companies. It's, I don't want to be blasting them or anything like that. And this really wouldn't be a blast anyways, but this one company, they just didn't have the drivers to bring their trailers to them up in Wisconsin, and they're brand new trailers that were built in Indiana. And I picked them up, and I took 4 or 5 of those in 1 week up there. It was a short run. It was only about 300 miles one way. But I would haul brand new trailers. I hauled used trailers. There was one railroad company here in the U.S. that we had a contract with, and I would go pick up what they called tool trailers, which was basically a semi-trailer that had all their tools and parts in it, and they would be going from like one terminal station to another. I liked doing those, but they were very heavy trailers, so I really had to watch because sometimes they were overweight for legal use on the road. But other than that, I enjoyed that. But some of the other interesting stuff is that I hauled I hauled some logging equipment that's built to a trailer, and some of those were sketchy. I had one that called me up. They wanted me to pick up this log trailer they bought. So it wasn't a logging trailer like what you would haul tree logs on. It was it was more like a big grapple, if I'm remembering it correctly. I probably have a picture somewhere of that too. I'd have to dig out those, but yeah, if I remember right, it was like a big log grapple, what they used to load the trailers with, or something similar like that. And I told the guy, I said, yeah, not a problem. Where's it located? He said, oh, he goes, it's in Louisiana. I need you to bring it to Illinois. It's a day drive. No big deal. I'm like, all right, I can do that. I go over there to pick this trailer up, and every tire was bald, had no tread left on it. It had no lights, and I had no lights to put on it. So I had to go down. So I had to leave the trailer there. They told me I had 2 hours to get it out. So I went down to somewhere, and I think I bought magnetic lights somewhere, and then made up a plug to hook up to the truck so I could pull it down the road. But it still had bald tires, and I tried to refuse the trailer because the bald tires and everything. And the guy was like, "Oh, well, just get it out of there and get up the road a little ways, and I'll have you stop somewhere and put tires on it." I'm like, "Okay, that's fair," because they had a window to get it out. It was at an auction, so I go up a little ways and I parked for the night because it was 7, 8 o'clock at night when I picked up. And I get up the next morning, I called him up. I said, so what are we going to do about these tires? He said, "Well, there's nothing wrong with the tires." I said, "I told you they're bald. You said we were going to replace them." He goes, "Oh, I never said that." So he started shafting me on that. So I just did what I had to do. I got it delivered. And after I delivered it, I told him never to call me again. And I made him mad, but I'm not going to haul illegal freight like that. But we used to haul some interesting stuff. I used to haul big generators too, and those were a lot of fun. Some of those were my. That's actually where I got into oversized. That's where I started learning oversized loads. I used to haul most of those out of Houston, Texas. So, waiting on traffic to do its thing. Come on, folks. Let's keep this train rolling. You got too far to go, guys. About 87 miles, apparently. So yeah, I hauled some interesting stuff when I worked for that guy. Like I said, I got into oversize. I learned how to do pilot car and escort work, for oversize, but I never got certified because I didn't have to be. Well, in a way, I probably should have been certified, but we was able to get away with it, so to speak. And the only reason that I did it was usually short runs. Where we picked up in Houston, sometimes we just had to pull them out and take them down the road somewhere, and I would help do stuff like that. And in Texas, I didn't have to be certified, but in Florida, I did. Um, and in Florida, I wasn't supposed to escort it. What we was taking, these trailers are to be repainted, and we were going over to one particular place, and it required us to have the police escorts. And my boss was under the assumption that he only needed one pilot car and the two police escorts, and he asked me to come help. And the deal was I was supposed to either ride with the escort or ride with him to where we were going, just in case I need somebody to jump out, direct traffic, that kind of thing. And the officer said, "Where's the second pilot car?" And he goes, "I didn't think I need the second pilot car." And he said, "Yeah, you do." So my boss looked at me and he said, "Go grab that truck." He goes, "You're following too." So I ended up having to escort as well. But I found it a lot of fun. I enjoyed that kind of stuff. You know. And then yeah, I ended up quitting working for him. He hired a new driver that me and him just didn't see eye to eye, and I dealt with him for a couple of months and couldn't tolerate him no more. He used to make me so mad. He would call me names, and he was worse than a school bully. Worse than kids get sometimes in school. And so when I quit working for him was when I went to started hauling RVs, and I enjoyed that. Made pretty good money in it. Then I had a friend tell me that I'd make really good money if I bought a big truck. So I bought me a big truck, and I worked for him for a little bit. Then I worked for somebody else for a little bit. I said, "No, this isn't working for me." So I got out of that, went right back to RVs, and that's what I did until I quit here back earlier this year, about 6 months ago. I think out of all the stuff that I did, if I if you gave me an option of what I would want to go back and do as far as in the trucking industry, um, I'll rank it in order. The most fun that I had was doing RVs, but only locally. Over the road was just boring. Um, that would be my first choice. My second choice would be to do oversize. wouldn't matter if it's local or over the road, because I did have a lot of fun with that. Even though I still don't want to be on the road, it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. And then probably number three would be grain hauling. I worked for a guy, and matter of fact, when I first bought my truck, that's what I did. I pulled a hopper bottom, I pulled a Tempty, and I also pulled a Wilson, and I delivered grain products to feed mills. So I delivered the raw goods that went into making cattle feed and things like that. I used to actually go to a dog food plant regularly, or at one time I did, sometimes several times a day. But I won't mention the name of the company or anything. Like I said, I don't really want to mention these company names and things like that. I don't want people to think I'm either bashing them or promoting them. It's not that I don't, do or don't like a lot of these companies, but I should stop better. But no, I don't want to. I don't want people to think I'm doing, this or that or the other type thing. So, but hauling feed was a lot of fun, or grain products really is what I hauled. It was more of a family. So it was just when I did that kind of work, the products that I hauled a lot, and there was a lot of people that did the same thing. They didn't just fall out of the trailer like what they do in game. If you guys play Farm Sim, you've probably pulled the hopper at one time. The hoppers are ones that they dip down in the middle of the trailer in two spots where you unload on the ground. Um, in real life, if you're hauling corn or things like that, yeah, it falls right out of the trailer. But the stuff that I hauled, which was what they considered a byproduct, I hauled millings and things like that. And you open the door and the dust falls out. That's it. And we had we had some stuff on the trucks. Some trailers were equipped with what we call vibrators. And it's not that dirty thing you're thinking. Um, it was attached to these rails on the sides of those hoppers. And matter of fact, if you look at, I believe on in Farm Sim, they're on the trailer. They're visually there. They don't do nothing. Um, but what they do is it does vibrate the sides of the trailer to loosen that load up, and hopefully it just falls off without you doing anything else. But most of the time, what you end up having to do is you take like a rubber mallet or a dead blow, and those same rails that they mount those vibrators to, you have to beat those knock rails until the load breaks loose. And sometimes on a real humid day, you'd beat on that thing for 30 minutes before it ever break loose. Well, in the when it came to everybody that did hopper stuff and whatnot, if somebody was out there and they were just out there just beating the tar out of their trailer and they couldn't get this load going, almost everybody would just jump out with a hammer and start helping. And I was one of those ones. I would do it as well. You know, I couldn't tell you how many times I would be, hammering on one side of my trailer trying to get the load to knock loose, and all of a sudden I hear somebody hammering from the other side. So it was more of a family than anything else, because everybody kind of took care of everybody. If one saw the other one broke down, sitting on the shoulder of the road or something like that, they'd stop and check on them. Holler them on a CB. Heck, half of us, most of us, we all had each other's cell phone numbers when cell phones started getting more popular. So yeah, that would be my third choice. Like I said, doing RVs and doing local stuff with the RV stuff, I really enjoyed that. I had a lot of fun with that. And then oversized was just a lot of fun. All right, so we got about 11 miles, guys. Taking a little bit longer than I thought this load was going to take. Traffic and all that. Come on, Trans Am. No, the other pedal. Other pedal. Come on. guys, we're almost where we're going. We got a new place here to discover too. All right, just for the sake of the video, guys, I know that that's a red arrow, but there's nobody coming. I'm gonna go ahead and get this over there and get it delivered. Looking like this video is going to be over 30 minutes anyway, so let's shorten up a little bit. So, I'm gonna make a note. I've got an idea of something I'm going to talk about, but I'll give you a little bit of a teaser. I know that ATS is built off the same as ETS. We all know that. It's the same company. But there's some changes that I think they should make, and I think I'm going to talk about that in the next video. So probably here in the next few days or maybe next week, depending upon when I'm able to record it. So, gonna be some change, ideas for change. I'm not saying that they're gonna happen, because they're not, but I'm gonna just do a quick park because that's out on the road. Yeah, just some ideas on stuff like that of what I think should be changed. This is based off of American truck driver perspective of how we do things. So I might talk about that if I don't come up with something else. I'm just going to make a note, as that's something I may talk about in the future. It might be the next video for ATS, or it might be 5 videos later. I don't know. If you've got any ideas of things that should be done differently in ATS, feel free to drop them down in the comments, or hit me up on Discord or whatever. So, let's see how we do here. We did 42,000 and change. We are parked. So I'm just going to leave it at this screen, guys, and end it here. I know this video is a little bit longer than I anticipated. I thought it was going to be right at the 30-minute, but it's going to be closer to a 40-minute long video. So anyways, guys, I appreciate you guys hanging out, riding with me, and I hope you're enjoying the stories so far. I'm going to try to keep up with them. I'm going to have to start making some notes and things to talk about, but I'm going to try to keep it up for you guys. So with that until, guys, I hope y'all have a great day. I'll see you later.